Good morning, everyone, and here is a short introduction of the country Egypt. Egypt is a North African country renowned for its ancient civilization, iconic monuments such as the Pyramids of Giza and the Sphinx, and the Nile River, which has been the lifeblood of the region for millennia. And Egypt was called the gift of the Nile by Herodotus, a Greek historian. Without the Nile, the area would be entirely desert river. Desert River Nile flooded every year during month of July and left rich soil. This rich soil was ideal for planting crops.
The economy is one of the largest in the Arab. The largest sectors are natural resources, agriculture, tourism, and industry. The Egyptian currency is the Egyptian pound. Egypt is situated on the Arabian-Nubian Shield, and rich in gold deposits are found throughout its region. Sukuri is the only gold mine on Egypt. However, other companies have established mines in other parts of the Arabian-Nubian Shield, such as Eritrea, Ethiopia, and Saudi Arabia.
The religion in ancient Egypt, the Egyptians are polytheistic, which means they believed in many gods. They also considered their pharaoh as gods. The language they used in ancient Egypt is Egyptian. The ancient Egyptians used symbols for their alphabet, which they use in their spoken language.
Ancient Egyptian astronomy played a different part for the people than it does in other cultures, but astronomy in ancient Egypt was still as important. They recognized a number of constellations and other groups of stars. These groups of stars, called decans, were used for telling the time at night. Constellations that the ancient Egyptians found. Number 1, Sa or Orion. Number 2, Sopdet or Canis Major. Number 3, Meskhetieu or Ursa Major. Number 4, the Giza Pra or the Big Dipper. Astronomy in ancient Egypt was the best way to tell the time during the night. Each group of stars rose 40 minutes later each night. Observing the position of a group of stars in relation to the day of the year would tell what time it was. The ancient Egyptians kept astronomy tables to help them keep track of what decans to use to tell the time. Egyptian astronomy was also used in the calendar to determine when the 13th month of the year should be added. Since the lunar month is only 360 days, it's not enough to make up a whole year. So when the constellation of Sirius rose very late in the 12th month, the 13th month began. This allowed the ancient Egyptians to use astronomy to accurately keep track of the years. The stars also helped build the pyramids. Their eastern and western sides run almost due north, and their southern and northern sides run almost due west. This kind of positioning could not have been done without using astronomy to find due north and south. The four cardinal directions, the ancient Egyptians observed the night sky, noting stars that rotated around the northern celestial pole, which were known as imperishable stars, or Ikham Sek. Ancient Egyptian astronomy was deeply intertwined with religion, shaping the civilization's worldview, temple construction, religious rituals, and the calendar system. Egyptians observed the sun, stars, and planets not only to guide agricultural activities and timekeeping, but also to reinforce their divine cosmology and their theological narratives. Sky gods like Ra, the sun god, Nut, the sky god, and other celestial deities played different roles in Egyptian religious beliefs. The mythology representing cosmic cycles of life, death, and rebirth.
For the calendars, the earliest Egyptian calendar was based on the moon phases, which is the early lunar calendar. So for this calendar, each month started when the first crescent moon appeared after the new moon. So months followed the moon's phases. It had 12 months with about 29 to 30 days each. But for this calendar, hindi siya always accurate kasi they relied on watching the moon with their eyes. So kapag yung sky ay cloudy, mahirapan sila because they sometimes had to guess the start of the new month. This calendar was mostly used for religious festivals and rituals. Next is the agricultural calendar. This was very important because the Egyptians depended on farming along the Nile River. So for this calendar, it had three main seasons. You have the Aket, Peret, and Shemu. So for the Aket or inundation, this is where the Nile River flooded the farmlands. So yung mga farmers, hindi sila makapag-plant or makapagtanim. Instead, ginagawa nila is they work for the pharaoh or fix their tools. So the second season, which is the Peret or emergence, this is where the water went down, leaving rich black soil. This is when farmers planted seeds. So for the last season or Shemu or harvest, ito naman yung time na yung mga farmers ay hina-harvest nila yung mga crops nila before the Nile River flooded again. So this calendar helped them plant and harvest at the right time, ensuring enough food for everyone. The Egyptians also had a civil or solar calendar used for government and record keeping. So for this calendar, meron siyang 365 days, 12 months of 30 days each, plus 5 extra days na tinatawag na epigomenal days used for festivals. It was based on the solar year and the rising of the stars series. So for the civil calendar, fixed siya. Ibig sabihin, no, wala siyang leap day So every year was exactly 365 days. This calendar helped them plan taxes, manage construction, and track time for farming.
And now we will talk about the base system. The Egyptians used a base 10, which is their decimal system, and they did not have a symbol for 0. And also, numbers were written by repeating symbols for each power of 10. And now we are going for their systems of numbers of Egypt. And base 1 is a single stroke. Base 10 is a drawing of a heel bone. And base 100 is a coil of rope. And 1000 is a lotus flower, base 1000. And the base of 10,000 is a finger. And the base of 100,000 is a tadpole or frog. And base of 1 million is a god with raised arms, or the symbol of amazement. And how do the Egyptians wrote numbers? Numbers were additive, meaning symbols were repeated to form values. And now we are going for the writing direction of these numbers by the Egyptians. Egyptians could write numbers left to right or right to left, depending on the direction of the text or figures.
Agriculture was the foundation that allowed Egyptian civilization to flourish for thousands of years. The Nile River was central to this success. Every year it flooded its bank, depositing rich fertile silt onto the fields. The Egyptians called the dark fertile land Kemet, or the Black Land. Because rainfall was minimal and unpredictable, the Egyptians depended on carefully managed irrigation and exploitation of the Nile cycle. So farm in ancient Egyptian, most farmers were peasants who lived near the land. Many did not own the land. They worked lots owned by the pharaoh, temples, or nobles. The pharaoh or temple institutions would allocate fertile land to peasants in return for labor, taxes, or tribute. The farmer's role was vital. They produced the grain, vegetables, and fibers that fed the population, supported trade, and supplied materials for construction. Without their work, the monuments, cities, and civilization itself would not have been maintained. Peasants also were sometimes conscripted into four-way labor, working on public projects like canals, buildings, or temples when not tending their fields. Crops Egyptian grown are emmer, wheat, and barley were the two main grains. These were used in bread and beer, which is the staple diet of ordinary people. They also grow flax for its fiber. Flax fibers were spun into linen for clothing, ropes, mats, and other textiles. They also plant vegetables such as onion, lettuce, cabbage, which were common, and fruits such as figs, dates, grapes, and melons, which are fresh or dried, which is used in meals, offering, and trade. Another crop is papyrus, a plant used for making paper, boats, and mats. The preservation that the Egyptians use are to preserve their grain. The grain was stored in granaries or grain silos to keep it dry and safe from pests. Some surplus grain was used as tax or tribute to temples. Fruits were dried for longer storage. Flax and fiber crops were harvested and processed to make linen. And where do they plant the crops? Egyptians planted their field along the Nile's floodplain, on river banks, and in the Delta region because these areas received the fertile silt from annual floods. So how do Egyptians keep the fields moist? Because they could not rely on rain, the Egyptians developed irrigation system to control the flow of the Nile's water. Basin irrigation wherein fields were divided into basins enclosed by walls or dikes. Flood waters were channeled into them, allowed to soak in then excess rain away to other basins or canals. Canals, ditches, and channels, the network that directed water from the Nile or its branches into fields. Underground channel, which is used for transporting water over distances, or to supply water for temples, palaces, or cisterns. Other farming tools that the Egyptians used are sakiya, or water wheel, or animal-powered device, which was later innovated that include mechanical wheels with bucket powered by animals like oxen or donkeys. It is used to lift water more efficiently. Another device is a shadaf, which is a simple lever with a bucket on one end and a counterweight on the other, which is used to lift water from river or canal into higher fields. Through this combination of systems, the Egyptian could extend farmland away from direct river banks and manage water even during dry periods. Another device is Nilometer, used for measuring the Nile River's water level during the annual flood season. This instrument was a method of marking the height of the Nile over the years. It acted as an early warning system, alerting Egyptians that water were not as high as usual, so they could prepare for drought or for unusually high flood waters. Farming tools. Ancient Egyptian farmers used many tools which allowed them to farm large tracts of lands. Hoes and sickles. The hoe for weeding and soil work, and sickle for cutting stalks of grain during harvest. Hand plow, which is dragged by hand, and ox-drawn plow pulled by cattle or oxen to break and turn the soil. Pitchforks and sieves, for moving grain, separating chaff, and cleaning grain. Mattock, which is a combination of axe and hammer, which is used for loosening soil, removing stones, breaking clods. Winnowing, which is tossing the grain chaff mixture, so wind blows away the lighter chaff, leaving heavier grain. Rakes for gathering cut stalks, and threshing floor or trampling, which is done after cutting it, so grain stalk is spread on open ground, and animals, usually oxen or cattle, walk over them to separate grain from stalks. Animals in farming. Animals played multiple roles in ancient Egyptian farming, both as labor and as source of goods and byproducts. Cattle, oxen, and cows have major roles like pulling plows, trampling grain and threshing, providing manure, milk, and occasionally meat. Cows were particularly important because they aided Egyptian farmers with pulling the plow, eating leftover grain and fat, trampling in seed, and providing them with milk. Goats, sheep, pigs are kept for meat, milk, skins, and wool. Poultry like duck, geese, and chicken are raised for eggs and meat, while donkeys are often used as pack animals for transporting goods or pulling lighter loads.
Imhotep is the first known architect in the history. He is also an Egyptian chancellor to the King Djoser, possibly architect of King Djoser's Step Pyramid. Djoser's Step Pyramid is the first pyramid structure built in Egypt. Located at the Saqqara necropolis, King Djoser was buried in the chamber deep beneath the structure. Thousands skilled workers, engineers, and architects worked to build the pyramids. They used ramps, levers, and rollers. The pyramids are made for the pharaohs. The Egyptians believed that a pharaoh is a divine being that is also considered as half god and half man. Temples. Egyptian temples were built for the official worship of the gods and in commemoration of pharaohs. In ancient Egypt, the regions under Egyptian control temples were seen as houses for the gods or kings to whom they were dedicated to. The Egyptians performed the central rituals of Egyptian religion by giving offerings to the gods and by reacting their mythology through festivals.
Greetings everyone! Now we'll be moving on with medicine. Sinasabi lang dito na illnesses and diseases are caused by gods, demons, and spirits. And ang treatment na offered ng mga Egyptians ay ang combination of prayers or rituals, physical treatment, and herbs. The ancient Egyptians recorded medical knowledge on papyrus sheets. The Edwin Smith papyrus detailed surgical cases, while the Everest papyrus focused on internal medicine and herbal remedies. In ancient Egypt, medical treatments are combined with spiritual practices and herbal remedies. Illness was believed to have spiritual causes, so prayers, rituals, and amulets like placing the horse eye to the patient while praying were common. They also used herbs like aloe for headaches, honey for wounds, and frankincense for asthma. The Adam Smith papyrus shows that ancient Egyptians performed surgeries, treated head, neck, and chest injuries, fixed dislocated bones, and stitched wounds. Like Filipinos, they practiced circumcisions for cultural and hygiene purposes. Dental care. Due to their diet and limited dental care, they had oral issues. Severe cases led to tooth extraction or drilling to drain abscesses. And yes, it was practiced during those times, kaya nga, consider sila na advanced. They even had their own toothpaste made from eggshells, oxhole, and pumice. Mummification. Mummification helped ancient Egyptians learn about human anatomy, as preserving bodies for the afterlife required detailed knowledge. They believed this process allowed the soul to reach immortality and stay connected to the gods. Artifacts. Artifacts like scalpels, needles, and forceps found in Cairo Museum shows the advanced medical skills of the Egyptians. Many of these tools are still used today in modern form.
So for the ancient Egyptian invention, meron tayong tinatawag na wig. So many Egyptians shaved their heads during the hot summer, and they did this to stay clean and avoid pests like lice. And the priests or the mga pare, they still bald for religious purification, but wealthy Egyptians wore wigs made in different style, and these wigs were often set with perfume beeswax to keep them in shape and smelling good. For the black ink, they use it to write ang papyrus, the ancient form of paper, so pangsulat siya. And yung black ink, mixture siya na beeswax, soot, and vegetable gum. So yung beeswax, galing siya sa wax collected from beehives. Then yung soot, ito yung black powdery substance that come from burning wood or oil, like the black smoke left on a pot after cooking over fire. Then yung base of gum, galing siya sa isa siyang sticky sap taken from the bark of a certain trees and plants.
Did you know that way back 4000 BC, eye makeup was invented by the Egyptians? They created black ointment called kohl by mixing salt and lead mineral galena. They also made green makeup by mixing malachite and galena. And this is not for aesthetic purposes. This is to protect them against eye diseases and the evil eye.